Thomas and Friends Storytime. Toad and the Whale, starring Toad, Oliver and the Search and Rescue Team. Based on the Railway series by Reverend W. Awdry. Created by Britt Allcroft. Read by Mark Morahan and friends. This is the story about Thomas's friend Toad, a loyal little brake van who works with Oliver the Great Western Engine. Toad can always be seen looking in the opposite direction to Oliver as he sits at the back of the train. He doesn't have a whistle or a bell, but is extremely polite and refers to everyone as Mr., Miss or Sir. So now you've met the hero of our story, let's begin our journey. All aboard for a big adventure. Toad and the Whale. It was a hot summer day on the island of Sodor, and Oliver's brake van Toad was feeling particularly happy.
Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside. Oh, I do like to be beside the sea.
Oh, this sunshine's gone to your head, Toad. But if you feel like singing, you carry on.
OK then, Mr. Oliver, I will. Oh, I do like to stroll along the prom.
Oliver continued chuffing down his branch line by the sea, when Toad suddenly spotted something very big lying on the sandy beach.
Mr. Oliver, look, it's a whale.
But Oliver just laughed. He didn't believe Toad and just thought he was being silly.
You need to be a bit more serious, Toad.
But it's not a joke.
Perhaps you should concentrate on being a really useful brake van instead of singing or making jokes.
Yes, Mr. Oliver.
As Toad looked back, he could see how sad the whale looked. He wanted to help, but Oliver didn't believe the whale was really there. Finally, Oliver and Toad arrived at Knapford Yard, where their goods train was uncoupled. Toad was still feeling a little sad when he saw Thomas.
Isn't it a lovely day, Toad? It was, Mr. Thomas, until I saw that... Oh, never mind. You'll just laugh too. No, I won't, Toad. What? I saw a whale on the beach at Bluff's Cove.
But before Toad could continue, Oliver interrupted.
He imagined it, Thomas. Come on, Toad. All that sun's gone to your head.
Oh.
And so Oliver peeped his whistle and pulled away, with a very sad-looking Toad following behind. He didn't say a word all the way back from Knapford.
Are you OK, Toad?
Asked Oliver.
Truth be told, I'm a bit sad. First you stopped me singing, then you told Thomas I imagined seeing that whale.
Oh, I'm sorry I was unkind about your singing, but the...
Suddenly, Oliver screeched to a stop. Toad was confused.
But what, Mr. Oliver?
I don't believe it.
Oliver stared in amazement. There up ahead, lying on the beach, was the whale that Toad had seen before.
There is a whale, Toad. Oh, I'm so sorry I doubted you.
I told you, and the whale on the beach needs help.
You're right, Toad. We must alert the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre.
At the Sodor Search and Rescue Centre, all the vehicles leapt into action. Harold the helicopter rose up from his helipad. Flynn and Bell the fire engines raced out of their sheds. Butch the tow truck skidded across the gravel, while Rocky the breakdown crane relayed the message.
Emergency at Bluff's Cove on the beach!
Duty calls!
Harold shouted as the team raced to the rescue. Soon the rescue to save the whale was underway. Harold hovered up high, keeping an eye on the tide. Oliver and Toad helped by bringing water so that Flynn and Bell could continue to spray their hoses to keep the whale wet. Butch drove across the sand towards the poor creature lying on the beach.
What are they doing now?
Asked Toad.
It looks like Butch is going to move the whale closer to the sea so it can swim away.
But then Harold radioed the search and rescue manager.
The tide's too far out, sir.
Harold's right. You can't pull a whale all that way, Butch. It just won't survive.
Oh dear. Is there nothing else they can do, Mr. Oliver?
I don't know, Toad. But if there is, I'm sure they'll do it.
Oliver and Toad could only watch from afar as the rescue continued. The whale was covered in large Hessian sacks to protect it from the hot sun, and trenches were dug around the whale to keep it wet as Flynn and Bell pumped water over it.
When the tide comes back in, the whale can swim away.
But that will take hours,
said a worried Toad.
Why don't they just pick the whale up and take it to Brendam Docks? The water's really deep there, so it could just swim away.
Oh, Toad. Let's just let the search and rescue team get on with their job. Come on. We need to take these empty water tankers back to Knapford.
Poor Toad looked even sadder as they set off. At Knapford, all the engines were talking about the beached whale. Thomas looked up to see Oliver and Toad arrive.
You didn't imagine the whale then, Toad?
No, Mr. Thomas.
What's wrong now? Aren't the search and rescue team there?
Yes, but the tide's so far out I'm worried it won't return in time to save the whale. I still don't know what's wrong with my idea of moving the whale to Brendam Docks.
Fizzling fireboxes! That's a brilliant idea, Toad!
Thomas called out to Sir Topham Hatt.
Sir! Sir! Toad's got a plan to save the whale!
What's this, Toad?
I don't know if it'll work, sir, but I thought that we could lift the whale up and take it to Brendam Docks so it could swim away.
Sir Topham Hatt thought Toad's idea was a good one and sent Thomas to fetch Rocky the breakdown crane. Back at the beach, a large harness had been fitted around the whale. Toad watched as Rocky carefully lifted the whale onto a long flatbed.
Oh, the whale looks very sad and tired. Oh, I wish there was something we could do to make it feel better.
I've heard whales like singing to each other,
said Belle.
Oh, really? But I like singing too.
So as the whale was strapped safely to the flatbed, Toad started to sing quietly to comfort it.
Oh, you do need to be back in the water. Oh, you do need to be back in the sea.
Oliver pulled the flatbed slowly but steadily along the tracks, as Belle followed alongside, still spraying the whale with water. And Toad just kept on singing all the way to Brendam Docks.
Oh, you do need to go where you can swim, 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 where the fish...
At Brendam Docks, Salty and Cranky couldn't believe their eyes when they saw the rescue party arrive.
Well, blow me down.
Is that a whale?
Yes, Cranky. Do you think you can get him back into the water?
I'll do my best.
So Cranky's hook was attached to the harness, and he began to lift the whale from the flatbed. Everybody watched nervously as Cranky turned his crane arm and gently lowered the whale into the water with a sploosh. Toad was happy to finally see the whale back where he belonged, in the cool blue sea.
Goodbye now. I hope you find your family.
From that day on, whenever Toad passed Bluff's Cove, he always remembered his friend with a song.
Oh, he does like to be back in the water. Oh, he does like to be back in the sea. Now he's back inside the sea. He's beside himself with glee beyond the seaside, inside the sea.
The end. Listen out for other adventures with Thomas and Friends Storytime. Thomas and Friends is a registered trademark of Gullane Thomas Limited.